Welcome back to 6th grade orchestra. We have one more rhythm to learn this year, and that is your dotted quarter note. For this video, you will want to have Ode to Joy out from your Monster Concert folders. So we see our dotted quarter note in measure 4. Like a dotted half note, when I have my dotted quarter note, the dot is to the side. Remember, if I have staccato, the dot is above or below, but if the dot changes my rhythm, it goes to the side. When we learned about our dotted half notes, we learned that when I have the dot, I take the value of the rhythm plus 1/2 the value of the rhythm. So if I have a dotted half note, I would take a half note. I realize half of a half note is a quarter note, and I will add those together to get my dotted half note. So that's why my dotted half note is 3 beats long. Now when I have my dotted quarter note, I take the value, which is 1 quarter note. Then I take half the value of my quarter note. So half of a quarter note is an 1/8 note. And then I add them together. So if a quarter note's 1 beat and an 1/8 note is half a beat, my dotted quarter note will actually be 1.5 beats. Because of that, we will often see them paired with an 1/8 note, kind of like you see down here, or like how you see in measure 4 of our music. Even though we have different notes, all of us have this rhythm together in measure 4. So when I count it, my dotted quarter note will get 1 and 2, because that 2 is that extra 1/8 note. Then my 1/8 note happens on the and of 2, and then my half note will get beats 3 and 4. So it'll sound like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Let's start before we play it. Let's try clapping this rhythm together. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Repeat that as many times as you need to, just clapping to feel comfortable with it. Now let's try it just on our open D together. So just the rhythm that you see in measure 4 in your music on open D. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Let's do that again. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now you might notice that when we play it just like that, we get pretty far out in our bow because we only have that one little 1/8 note to have our bow go the opposite way. So to help balance my bow out, we're going to do a hooked bow with my dotted quarter note and my 1/8 note. So what that will look like just on an open D is this. 1 and 2 and. Let's try measure 4 with the bowings and the rhythms, but still just on open D. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. When we do that, our bow should feel pretty comfortable. I mean, it might feel awkward at first while you get used to it, but the distribution, I should end up back in an okay spot in my bow. Let's try that again, still on open D. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now in our music, different instruments have different parts. We have different notes, but all of our rhythm is the same at the beginning. I'm going to play just the first 4 measures. It'll sound familiar because we learned it in our books earlier this year, but we learned it with a much simpler rhythm. This is the real rhythm. This is the rhythm that Beethoven wanted it to have. So now you get to learn the fancy rhythm that Beethoven used. I'm going to play the melody in the first 4 measures. Go ahead and play along with me. If you're a violin, you can play the melody too. I believe violas, you'll line up with me sometimes, but not all the times. And then cello and bass, your part will be pretty different from mine, but our rhythms will be the same. Here's the first 4 measures. Here we go. you look throughout the rest of this song, you'll notice that you also have this weird rhythm hooked bowing pattern show up in other measures as too, like in measure 8, you see it again in measure 16. People who are playing at the end of measure 20, everyone sees it at the end of 24, everyone sees it in the last measure. This rhythm shows up a lot. Everything else in this piece should be pretty familiar. We've learned all the notes. It's just this new rhythm. So I would start, the lights just went off. Interesting. So I would start by just practicing those measures on their own. I'd clap at the rhythm, practice playing them on their own, then practice playing it in 4-measure phrases. Once each 4-measure phrase gets good, start putting the phrases together to get more comfortable playing the song as a whole. Enjoy playing Ode to Joy.